You're watching another episode of Game Wired where I want to talk about the Atari Jaguar, um, the 64-bit interactive multimedia system Atari Jaguar, the Cybermorph playing Atari Jaguar. Cybermorph grew on me. I just recently got it back after a long hiatus. I played it for the first time. It had to have been in like 1997 when I picked this Jaguar up on clearance at the it was an electronics boutique, and Cybermorph. At that time, I absolutely hated the game. I thought it was terrible. I thought it was trash, and I really wanted the Jaguar to be something it wasn't, even though it says it is. And you know, I held on to it all these years. I'm glad I did, because it's just one of those gems. Some of these games are just so bad they're good. Some of these games are just so bad they're just bad. So to play some of these Atari Jaguar games, well, as you can see, it sits next to the much powerful Xbox One. They get along, and all the other consoles I own here. Yes, that is an Ouya all the way back there. PS3, PS4, and there is an NES sitting all the way in the back there, but you can't see it. I will be playing this on a 9-inch CRTV because on that 46-inch, old school games don't look good on any HD TV. So, especially if you're running it through coaxial, or RF. And if that's the case, then you definitely want to use an old CRTV. Well, let's go over the Jaguar games that I own. I have them in this nice little plastic shoebox here. The first one we're looking at is... Now, I do have the boxes for most of these games. I want to say most of these games. There's a few of them that don't have the boxes, but I decided to take them all out of boxes because I just don't have the space to store thick boxes on shelves. So taking the games out of their cases and keeping them in plastic bins hopefully is a good idea and will keep dust out. So if anybody's trying to save space out there, this might help you. Checkered Flag. It is no virtual racing for the 32X, although it did try. And, if you ask me, it pulls off the polygons pretty good. It's just the control in this game is very, very bad. Just really bad. So that's a bummer there. And again, it does not have the replayability of virtual racing on the 32X. Fight for Life. This is a game that I had to have been one of my last games I bought for it, and not only was it the last games that I bought for the Atari Jaguar, but it is the last game made for Atari, by Atari. The last Atari licensed game. So everything else after that was aftermarket. After the Jaguar was already taken off the shelves and ceased manufacturing. So this is a fighting game it's a 3D polygonal fighting game, and it's bad. It really is. It's no fun. And it does have one unique aspect to it where you do fight to not only win some tournament, but or actually to win your life back. You every match that you win, you actually gain You get to select one special move that the other opponent had, so you kind of build up a move set, which is pretty neat. But the game controls awful, plays awful. It's very slow and clunky. It's just it's no fun. But it is really neat to have if you can get it in your collection, because it is the last game. Um, this skiing and snowboarding is a tough one to love as well. It's basically like when you look at this game, the only thing this game's got going for it is its speed. It is extremely fast when you get going. But for the most part, I mean, this is 16-bit graphics. I mean, I'm not going to lie. This is, when you're looking at it, it looks like a 16-bit video game, like something your Genesis or your Super Nintendo could have pulled off. The control is bad. I have to say it's bad, because when you go, you gain speed pretty quickly in this game going downhill, and every time you gain speed, and you try to turn, you're crashing, and there's so many obstacles in your way, that it takes away from the fun. So the control is bad, and the speed is off-putting. I mean, you could just go so fast, and it's neat to see for the moments you are going fast, but the moment is short-lived, because you're going to end up on the ground every single time you try to turn. So that's the skiing and snowboarding. Here's another this is actually a classic. This is a Iron Soldier. This is fun. Not a bad game. You have to understand the controls. When you start playing, and you think, the controls aren't what your standard controls are for, a game today. So when you jump in there, there's certain buttons you need to push, or actually a certain button you need to push that you wouldn't expect to push to move forward, and so on. So this game's it has a little bit of a learning curve when it comes to movement, but once you get that, I'm telling you, it's actually pleasing to go ahead and take care of some of the missions and some of the enemies that are in those maps, I should say. Iron Soldier is a fantastic game. It's fun to play. Slow moving, but and very dated nowadays, but very, very neat to see the Jaguar pull off polygons like this in this game in a 3D world. So very nice to have that game in my collection. Next one up looks Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. I never liked this game. I'm not going to lie, I can't get past the first level. And this is another one of those games where any other 16-bit console could pull this off. So this is by no means a 64-bit game. Shame on Atari for that. Wolfenstein 3D, one of the absolute better actually the best console port of this game, in its generation. Now you can get Wolfenstein 3D on the Xbox 360, for example, and it's just fantastic. But this is a very, very good version of it, better than the Super Nintendo, and there's actually, it's just fun. Everything in it, that it was originally in it. You know how the Super Nintendo version got stripped down. Well, this one did not. So this is very fun, and if you ask me, it is better than Doom, because Doom has one thing for the Jaguar that it is missing, and that's music. And this game is not missing anything. So Wolfenstein 3D, must have for any Jaguar collection. Bubsy in Fractured Fairytales. This game is brutal, brutally hard. No fun, hard is what I mean. So, there's challenging games, and then there's just hard, not fun games. So, and that's this one. Never got past the first level, and could care less about it. So this is another 16-bit title. I mean, this was a Jaguar exclusive, which is really cool. The Jaguar actually got an exclusive, that was made by a third party. But Sega could have made this on the Genesis. Super Nintendo could have had this on their console. So, not really a game that would show the power of the system. Very rare game here. I have I actually have the box for this game, and it is the Atari Carts. This is a bad game. Some people like it, some people don't. But Atari Carts is, in my opinion, a bad game. It's a Mario Kart clone, and the only character that anybody might know, and I certainly did not know him, is this turd, Bentley the Bear. Apparently, he was in a Atari game back when the Atari was when the Atari 2600 was out. He was in a game, and I don't even care to even know what it was. But apparently, he's the only character that wasn't original in the game, and the other characters that are original are just bland and blah. It's got a couple of pretty little aspects in the game, but for the most part, Mario Kart destroys this game, and this game is the music in it is one thing I took away for being very dull and boring. Elevator music for some odd reason, it seems. So Atari Carts, but it is rare. You can barely ever find it on eBay, and if you do find it on eBay, you only find one or two copies, and they go for like over $100. So that's Atari Carts. Let's see, Theme Park. Never got into this, but I heard it was an okay version of this simulator. Let's see here. What do we got? We got Raiden, which is again another game that any console, 16-bit console, could have run, and possibly this is the better version of it on consoles. But seriously, this is a 16-bit title, no 64 bits. Super Burnout is actually a very, very fun game, but graphically it is a 16-bit title. It says, hey, guess what, you're playing a Sega Genesis. Oh wait, no, you're playing a Jaguar, because they look like they would produce the same the same graphics. Nothing 64 bits about this game, besides the speed. I mean, it just flies, this game, and the control is very, very tight, so the controls are very good, unlike that skiing and snowboarding. Super Burnout is a good game. It's not a good game when it comes to showing what the Jaguar can do graphically. Time for the worst game I've ever played in my entire life, let alone on the Jaguar, is Club Drive. This thing is awful, atrocious, and I'm sorry, I vomited a little bit. I apologize. Excuse me. Club Drive is awful. There I go again. I can't even hold this game anymore. I did save the best for last, and that is Alien vs. Predator. I had to pick this one up. I actually picked this one up a couple of months ago, and I'm thrilled to have it in my collection finally. And this is the first-person shooter, Alien vs. Predator, and it is graphically what the Jaguar... It shows you what the Jaguar can do. It's primitive as far as gameplay, it's primitive as far as control and weapons and everything like that, but I'm telling you right now, graphically, for back then in 1994, this game wowed and dropped a lot of jaws when you saw it. When you saw this game running, you were in awe. Like, wow, okay, finally something that the Jaguar can do, and it's too late, because within the next year, this console was basically dead. So let's pop in a game. Actually, I'm going to cut this right here. Actually, here is the controller. You all should know what the controller looks like. It is very, very bad, but it is comfortable. But the number pad is stupid, and 3 buttons, C, B, and A. Why not A, B, C? I don't know. And the D-pad is it's okay, but it is comfortable. I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty comfortable. So stay tuned for some gameplay, guys. Thanks for tuning in.